open space.
We're good?
Yeah, he was.
We had everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right there. You
All
had
right.
everything.
All right, good evening, everybody. This is the Town of Fairfield Conservation Commission for May 20th, 2026. Lucas Thomas, Peter Hood, Jay Fain, Cato Mahoney, Ted Luxinger, and Diane Saunders. I'm gonna go now to the Pledge of Allegiance. There we go. All right, I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right,
Got a mute.
now I will appoint Diane as a full member for tonight's meeting. The ability to vote on anything if we so need to. Okay, very good. And moving on to approval of the draft meeting minutes. Conservation Commission.
Rain.
Yeah, oh, wow. Okay. Sorry about that. It's.
For the rain outside.
There's something
No, it's not how I go.
It's boring.
Yeah. Conservation Commission meeting from April 22nd, 2026. Do any commissioners have any corrections, comments, or issues?
Just one thing.
Yes.
The item on the need for a portable toilet at the Cascades says it carried unanimously, but I actually voted no against that.
Yep, okay, so we will correct that, so it's not Osprey monitoring, number three portable. Okay, so under number 3, please correct the vote count. It would be 1 no vote by Commissioner Saunders. Okay, and any further corrections or move that we accept it? Thank you. And votes has a motion for it. Any second? And Jay second, all in favor with the correction, yay. Okay, all around, very good. Now, this is the exciting stuff. New business number 1, Lights Out Connecticut presentation. Hello,
Hello,
please tell us your name and what you're gonna show us, what you're about, and
my name is Craig Repaz. I am the co-founder and director of Lights Out Connecticut. We are a statewide initiative. Our parent organization is Monoctoc Audubon, which is domiciled on New Haven, Orange, and up the coast into Madison, that area. So even though it's a local chapter, we do have a statewide focus. They are a chapter of the National Audubon Society, so we have a direct connection to a much larger organization.
very good, thank you.
Okay, so.
Please, yeah, continue. Yes, all right.
Okay, well, if we're going to discuss light pollution, we need to have some background as to who we are as a human animal and our response to the light and what happens to us. So let's talk about our ancestors. They worked outside, they were sowing fields, they were harvesting salt hay, they were building stone walls, or they were inside making cloth, making wool yarns, or they were putting food away. For that, they were hunter and gatherers. So they were always tied to this rhythm of the sun and the daylight going into night. Eventually, we had the Industrial Revolution. The early factories, especially here in Connecticut, were water powered. So they still obviously didn't have electricity. They were using these very large windows in the factories in order to see. So here again, they were pacing themselves to this nice gentle rhythm of the sun going into night. At nighttime, they had eaten, they had cleaned up. Then they would light their houses with either tallow candles, red oil lamps, or just simply the wood, the glow from the fireplace. That gave their house this dark, this amber color. Keep that in mind as we go forward. And if once they're all cleaned up, they might have to take a trip to the privy or get some more firewood. And as they went outside, they could look up and see a perfect night sky. Perfect night sky is a night sky that has no light pollution. If you've never experienced this before, I think everybody has to do that before they die. You think you know your constellations now, you are lost when you see a perfect night sky because there's just so many stars that are abundant. So when they're out doing their business in the privy, they might hear katydids or crickets or bats or migrating birds. And these creatures all have their pace with the sunlight and are reliant on night. So the lanterns are snuffed out. I want to talk about humans' reaction to the dusk. It takes 15 minutes for our pupils to adjust. And then it takes a full 45 minutes for a protein pigment in our retina called rhodopsin to build up. Once we have that, we are able to see in the dark as well as rabbits and whippoorwills. However, very few people have actually experienced this because one flash of light and we're back to ground zero, building up this protein again. So very few of us have actually experienced our full capacity in the dark. So what happens is with all of this artificial lighting, the darkness on the outside of this globe just seems a lot darker to us. So it's much more accentuated. So a couple of players in our story as our ancestors went into night. This isn't a quiz, don't worry. This is a protein called leptin. This is a protein that as we wind down and we are exposed to dark, these leptin levels will start to rise. This is the major protein hormone that regulates our glucose levels. So normally, when the leptin levels rise, we feel full, we feel comfortable, and we drop off to sleep. Now think about what would happen if these leptin levels were disrupted somehow. Another major factor in our story is melatonin. Likewise, when it gets dark, the melatonin levels that we have start to rise. This is a very important molecule because it's an antioxidant. And most importantly, it will kick into tumor suppression mode. We have this ability during the day when we're exposed to sunlight or smoke or any carcinogen. At nighttime, we have this mechanism in our immune system to make these repairs. And this is triggered by melatonin. So what happens if the melatonin level is disrupted? We'll get to that. So as humans, we've always tried to light back the night. 1807, we had gas street lamps introduced, and then soon we would have incandescents, halogens, fluorescent lights, and now we have these very bright LEDs. They came on the market around 2015 or so, and the idea that they would save us a lot of money in energy costs and the cost of the elements itself. So what happened? People bought more. And that contributed to this incredible rate of light pollution that we're experiencing now. So you could say our future looked bright, but there's definitely brightness in our future. You could probably pick out Fairfield on this photograph taken by a satellite. This is nighttime on the eastern seaboard. So you can see some of these areas, it's never night. And so I just demonstrated that we are reliant on these cycles for us to keep continuing with our biological activity. So these areas, it's constantly daytime, and there's going to be a huge problem with this. And things are getting brighter. Since 2011, the night sky has become 10% brighter every year. That is to say, if a baby is born today with 250 stars overhead, by the time she's 18, there's only going to be 100 unless we do something about this. I like to point out that each point of light actually represents a decision made by a business, a homeowner, a town, or a state to keep those lights on. And after we give this presentation, these are some of the things. Do we keep the light on, do something about it, or do we keep it blazing, and do we put our citizens in danger with safety and their health? How many people have seen the Milky Way? Okay, a few of you. Actually, a third of all citizens in the world can't see the Milky Way right now. Most of us are living in this globe of this orb of light around our cities. This is a Bortle scale, which is a way to measure light pollution. A perfect night sky is when there is zero light pollution whatsoever. And there's only one place on the eastern seaboard where you could actually see that. It used to be our backyards. Now you have to go all the way to Maine between Moosehead Lake and Mount Katahdin in order to see it. I was talking to somebody from the Lyme Land Trust yesterday who told me that they actually have around a Bortle 4 and they're able to get pictures of galaxies right now. But most of us really, I live in Hamden and we are probably a 6 or a 7 on this Bortle scale. So some of these stars, they're so far away that light left that star when there's dinosaurs that were still roaming the planet. That's how distant and huge our galaxy is, our universe is. So you could say that the complete poem of the universe is being lost from us. But let's talk about the impact of light pollution. Let's go with humans first. We mentioned melatonin as an antioxidant. You know, it induces sleep, it boosts the immune system, it lowers cholesterol, and helps the functioning of the thyroid, pancreas, ovaries, testes, and adrenal glands. So when this cycle is interrupted, those organs I just mentioned, these adrenal or these endocrine system will be impacted, and oftentimes those are the cancers that we see. Artificial light really drastically disturbs our circadian rhythm, so that leads to mood disorders, depression, and reduced cognitive efficiency. Getting back to this concept of breast cancer, there was a study that was done in Israel. It was quite ingenious, where they took a light map of Israel to see where the light was from satellite, to see how bright things were. And then they took a map that was showing where the breast rate cancer incidences were. And they found that cumulatively that some areas showed a 63% chance in breast cancer in these areas where you could read a book at midnight by the light from the outdoor lighting. Very important finding. I just want to show you some studies. We're not going to take a deep dive into the medical literature. I just wanted to demonstrate that it's out there and it's really increasing exponentially year by year. There's a lot of researchers taking a deep dive into this. So this lectin molecule that I mentioned, it's finding that light pollution is having an increase on our obesity, on our diabetes rates, et cetera. Also cardiovascular disease, all of that, the entire family. This one is showing that Parkinson's disease, light pollution will put us at risk for Parkinson's disease. And I think as they study more and more of this, other neurological issues are going to be coming up. Early onset of Alzheimer's, this study, which just came out in 2024, shows that if there is an individual that has early onset Alzheimer's, chances are it is caused by light pollution, or light pollution plays a role in that. So if you know somebody that's in that category, think about what type of environment that they live. So I did mention that there is this oncostatic capability of the melatonin to fight these cancers. So if our melatonin cycle is thrown off kilter, then we're going to have higher incidences of cancer. So I mentioned breast cancer. Other studies have the rates around 33%. Guys are showing incidences of prostate cancer to be up in areas with a lot of light pollution. I am watching my time. There was a nurse study that tracked women working second and third shifts at hospitals and found that overall they had an increase in rate in lung cancers as well. But the most mechanisms is really focusing on the endocrine system. One of the biggest questions I get is, doesn't light make us safer? And the answer is no, there's no study that really shows it. Absolutely, we need to walk across our lawn. We've got to walk through our living room at night without tripping, obviously, but that's a matter of putting light where we need it, as opposed to putting all of our neighborhoods up ablaze. There was a study done in 2015 that looked at communities in Wales, Ireland, and in England and showed that street lighting, that effect was diminished, got off entirely, that there was no difference in the number of accidents. That was in 63 municipalities. Truth of the matter, a lot of crime is actually committed in the light of day. Oftentimes, if there's a building that is lit up, you're basically giving these criminals a lighted workspace. It's best to put something on a motion sensor. So if somebody approaches the building to do something, to break in or whatever, that light comes on. They don't know if they're on the camera. They don't know if somebody's there, and they usually run far more effective. So here again, it's just a matter of some controls. You don't want to have it totally black. Safety. It doesn't increase our safety. One of our issues that we have as we get older, we start to build up cataracts. You can't avoid that. So this type of lights that we're using now creates this glare that is actually painful to us. It causes a loss of balance. It causes a loss of situational awareness. So that is bad for an aging population, obviously. I like this photo. Do you see there's a person standing between the headlights? So a lot of these bright lights, especially the ones that may be on somebody's commercial lot that's shining into the roadway, is creating glare, and it's impairing the vision of drivers. Also, I live in Hamden, I mentioned, there are plenty of people there that are breaking a city ordinance against light trespass, meaning that you cannot have a light that shines beyond your property boundary. But there are a lot of people that do that, and it shines into the roadway. It creates an issue. To conclude with the safety aspect, there was a study that was done, was released in 2000 in Chicago. They were going to change the wattage of their streetlights, and they were going to increase them. So this was a perfect example to have a before and after comparison. So after the more lights and the higher wattage, they went from 90 to 250. They found crime actually went up. So the red is the before and the blue is after. So this idea of deterring crime doesn't hold up in studies. Also, let's get back to us as far as some positive news. The dark sky, darkness, or being exposed to a starry night can actually help us heal. This darkness will promote neuroplasticity, and this is the brain's ability to rewire itself. For activities that facilitate brain plasticity can help prevent cognitive decline, dementia, even concerns. This is coming out of a study out of the University of Rochester. So there are benefits in being in a dark and active state. If there was something that benefit, right? So people who actually go out and you see the next style going for that's a good way to reset our internal clocks, and that is to go camping without any headlamps or anything like that. And there was a study done at the University of Colorado where they found within a night or two that these students were able to wake up naturally, feeling more refreshed. They just tied into their natural circadian rhythms. So if I was going to leave tonight, the one message I would like to have you take home is that the night sky is an ecological niche. Ted brought a book written by this writer called The Darkness Manifesto, where he explains that. When I say it's an ecological niche, it's important for a lot of animals and plants and even humans. We need to have our nighttime, as I have explained already. How could the planet's insects have a stage that is in the dark? They need several hours of continued dark to feed and to mate. And they rely on the stars and the moon to navigate and endocrine cycle regulation. Now, there's also an order of insects that rely on a polarized light that will bounce off from the moon, bounce off a lake or a pond. And these mayflies will see that that's actually a water surface. But with this light pollution, they are coming down into parking lots and trying to lay their eggs with very little success, obviously. And speaking of moths, they have a stage, their larval stage is diurnal. And that is the main source of food for our birds that we enjoy here in Connecticut. There was a study that came out in 2019, which if you follow the bird literature, this was really a kick in the gut for a lot of us because we knew it was bad, but we didn't have it quantified and put in front of us. And by diving into the studies and a lot of citizen science since 1970, we have lost 1 billion birds in North America. A lot of these birds that we're losing are swallows, sparrows, warblers, thrushes. These are birds that migrate. Why is this important? We have 722 bird species in North America. 76% of those migrate. 80% of those that migrate at night. The only exception are really waterfowl, swallows, because they can eat on the wing because they're aerial insectivores, and hawks. Connecticut alone have 128 species that will migrate from or through Connecticut twice a year. So we have a very important spot on the Atlantic Flyway, and we can choose to preserve that. So every spring and fall, these birds migrate. They've evolved millions of years ago to navigate at night in the dark world to avoid heat and predators. They evolved to take advantage of the explosion of insects that occur in North America. So if you're in a tree commission, you probably are familiar with Doug Tallamy and his writings about how important it is to have oak trees because it is just a super source of larvae, these caterpillars for our birds. These birds are following these ancient routes. It's really quite amazing. I won't go into it, but their brains are able to expand so they can navigate. Their organs start to atrophy so they can use the nutrients as they tear down their organs as they fly to use that as a source of energy and a source of water. Their adaptations are absolutely amazing. They could even have this hemispheric sleep where they shut off half of their brain and turn on the other half, and they would just fly these huge differences, and they're navigating using the stars. They could also have the ability to see the Earth's electromagnetic fields. These are all advantages I wish I have. I'm very lucky enough to find McCarthy. But to put the scale of the migration into numbers, every year we have about 4 billion birds coming from Canada into the United States. Many of them consider the lower 48 to be south for the winter. Like we probably all enjoy our juncos and white-throated sparrows. Well, Connecticut is south for these birds. Others are going to continue on. The figures, 27 billion, are going to leave and go down into Mexico, Central America, the Caribbean, South America. But you look at this return rate of 3.5 billion birds in the spring. We're in the middle of the spring migration. And then 2.6 billion birds going from the contiguous United States into Canada. That's quite an attrition rate. What's going on? Obviously, these birds are losing stopover habitat, which local land trusts could play a part with that. They are losing wintering habitat, and they are crashing into our buildings because they're being disoriented by all of this light that's impeding their ability to navigate. So they're flying along these ancient flyways, and you can see our place on this map is quite prominent on the Atlantic Flyway. And they come funneling down out of New England and Canada and coming through here. So how it works, try to imagine that you're driving and you have glare in your face. You're not going to really, you could start to panic. And when you start to panic, you're not able to really process information properly. So light pollution will disorient birds. They navigate by the stars. So on a cloudy night, if there is a very large building with internal lights on, they may mistake that for stars. Or they are going to fly around because they're lost. They can't navigate properly. And if they see the sky glow, they can come down into areas where they don't belong. They used to think that this was observation bias. However, with the use of radar, they have seen these birds coming into our cities, our parks, our backyards, these areas where they normally would have flown over. So when they're there, they are going to be surrounded by our glass buildings, on our schools, our libraries, at our homes. And we are actually losing up to 2 billion birds a year in these window collisions in the United States. One mechanism, I know Fairfield's on the coast, you have our favorite lighthouses. The impact of the beacon of a lighthouse has been studied since around 1850, where they had noted that during certain times of years, birds would be seen in the beacon, and then in the morning they could see across the rocks, it was littered with birds. This is happening now. You might recognize this as the 9/11 monument. Unfortunately, this isn't going anywhere. This is very near and dear to our hearts as Americans. Unfortunately, this attack happened during migration. I know that's the least of this. I'm sure they weren't planning to impact our birds. However, the monument does impact the birds. The birds get lost. They fly around all night, and they have been witnessed to literally fall out of the sky, either dead or dying. So working with the Audubon chapter in Manhattan, they will measure how big the flock is, and they will ask to have the lights shut off for 20 to 30 minutes. And the birds are able to kind of snap out of the funk that they're in, reorient themselves, and continue their flight. So this is like really showing that we can live with nature. We just have to understand what they're doing, why they do it, and change our behaviors accordingly. At first, we were considering only about a billion birds, but because of the change, there was a study on the mechanism of injury, and that was doubled to 2 billion birds. People might say, well, I've never seen a dead bird in my yard. Oftentimes you won't, because they could hit the window, fall, you picked up by a cat or a crow or a blue jay, or it hits the window and flies off. People say, oh, the bird was okay, it flew off. Chances are, no, it wasn't. Chances are that it went into the bushes and died of a cerebral hemorrhage or a brain swell within the next hour or so. That's why they are estimating 2 billion birds. This is a building that's in Chicago. This is McCormick Place. It's probably the most studied building as far as window collisions there are in North America. They were turning off 50% of their lights, and they found that there was a 60% decrease with the window collisions. So it's not always linear, which is nice. A little bit could be a good impact. However, about 3 years ago, there was an event. It was a perfect storm. It was October. An event went late. They didn't shut their lights off. The weather was such that the bird migration really was heating that night. And in one night, they had 1,000 birds collide into that building. This was national news. So instead of this is being cataloged by the Field Museum in the Audubon chapter that's out there. So instead of studying the issue, they knew what they had to do. They knew they had to put something up on the windows to protect it. So they used a product put out by a company out of Canada called Feather Friendly. It really is just these dots that are 2 inches apart. We don't see glass. We don't see glass. We bump into it. Same thing with them. If we could break up the reflection, the birds won't fly into it. They found there was a 95% decrease in the bird mortality. It's very effective. So I want to just talk real briefly, and I'm running out of time, about a couple of other things that are impacted by light pollution, naming insects, zooplankton, amphibians, and fireflies. Have we all heard of the insect Armageddon? And looks like this crowd probably remembers driving around this time of year, May and June, and the issue with all the bugs smashed on your windshield. This is called the windshield study, and it was first started by E.O. Wilson, the entomologist out of Harvard. But lately, there has been a lot of focus on the declining insect population. Obviously, this is going to be multifactorial. There's going to be issues with pesticides, with too much rain, too little rain, drought. However, light pollution has an important role in this. And this was actually quantified by a researcher out of Harvard. I'd recommend that you, Avalon Owens, pretty sharp. It was recently that they realized why our moths will fly in a circle around the light. You know, the old saying about the moth caught in the back porch. They think that normally with the moon, they will navigate and they could, keeping the moon to their back and they could fly in a straight line. However, if there's the back porch light or a street light, they will start to go in a circle tighter and tighter until they waste the entire night flying in a circle, so they don't eat and they don't breed. So you could lose from one species a local extinction because of this phenomenon. And if you have a string of streetlights, that's called the vacuum cleaner effect. It's going to pick up all of the moths in that area in one night and pretty much kill them all. So it affects the predator-prey models. Bats will come after them more. They found that some of these moths, when they're caterpillars, they fail to pupate. So they're actually not even making it in adulthood. This is nice, pretty pictures of moths. Fireflies, who has fireflies in their yard? Okay, most of you.
As much as we used to.
Well,
Right.
So
The leaves.
there's a couple of reasons for this. We're too fastidious with our lawns. Don't rake your leaves. Don't mow, don't rake. They need that leaf litter in order to have that very vital stage of their larval development. Also, when people are putting insecticides down on their yard, that's going to kill it. It's a type of beetle. And if you read the application, it's made to kill beetles. So you're killing, people are killing our fireflies. Also, light pollution will impact them. I mean, fireflies are sending off a signal to track a mate. So watch it this summer. You know, if you see something like meat level and it's flashing something at shoulder level and like a little longer flash, those are different species. And they're just trying to attract mates. But they need to know when it's nighttime. So if your backyard is flooded with light, they don't know that it's night and they won't start. Or if they do start, they won't be seen. Because you're an aquatic country, town, food plankton is also impacted by this. I am a birder. You probably were able to detect that. However, the bird migration is huge, but the migration of zooplankton is much larger. It's probably 28-day cycle. It's tied with the lunar cycle. That is with a full moon, they won't come to the surface, but when it's dark, they'll come to the surface where they'll feed and they'll mate. And this is when the prey come after them. However, if there is artificial light, they stop this migration. So you will literally wipe out that level of an ecosystem as far as the food is concerned. It also impacts plants. I like to ask people like who are in gardening clubs if they do any hydroponics. And oftentimes there's one or two people. And I ask them, do you keep your lights on your plants all night long? So no, it stresses them out. Likewise, our landscaping, if we have pollinator gardens or other plantings, we're actually going to stress them out because of the lights. They don't drop their leaves when they should. They don't retract their carbohydrate into the root system when they should. So they don't get themselves ready for winter. Their guard cells don't function and the stomas stay open. So the gas exchange is interrupted. That could desiccate the leaves. Also, air pollutants could come into the leaf as well. The plant just lost its ability to really protect itself. So real quick, I just want to talk about ways that you could do this. This is coming from Dark Sky International, and we're teaming up with the Illuminating Engineer Society. So you got to ask yourself, is the light useful? If there's nobody coming to that building at 1 o'clock in the morning, shut the light off. You know, if you're worried about somebody breaking in, put some lights on timers. Is it targeted? You know, if somebody's going to break into your house, they're not going to do it from 20, 25 feet in the air. So there's no reason to have a light shining up there. Or a visitor is not going to come swinging through the trees. They're going to be at ground level. So make sure your lights are shining down. That is extremely helpful. Use the lowest level possible. LEDs that are being used, they're mini suns, that their color correlated temperature is equal to the midday sun. So you could choose levels that are much lower and have them controlled, have them on timers, have them on motion sensors and use, I mentioned that one amber light that we used to live with back before this industrial revolution. Use something that's going to be amber. So that's at 3,700 Kelvin. And this is showing some of these. So I'll conclude at this point. I want to keep it short. I know I'm just one part of a large meeting, but if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
I have the sense that the place where I live, they use the lights. I know they sell it. It has to be. I mean, the place is just crazy. It's just lit and lit and lit. And the parking lot is huge. That's all lit. I'm sure they sell it that way.
Well lit.
I'm sure they sell it for that reason, that people like it.
Yes.
And you talk about the cool light, all the interior lighting is horrific. It's white.
Yeah.
It's
So-
white, it's ghastly, and I feel like I'm the only person there who has lamps. Because you drive up at night and you see all the ceiling lights on. I don't know really how people can live that way, but apparently young people like it.
One thing to point out is here in Connecticut, we do have a state building code that applies to commercial buildings only. And that is if they have an exterior light that is about 200 watts, that it has to be downshielded.
Mhm.
However, a lot of the towns are not, their P and Z commissions are not holding the applicants' feet to the fire on that. And so a lot of these buildings are coming through approved with these ghastly lights that you're mentioning. However, they're in violation of the building
Well,
code.
they may well be shielded, but the overall effect of it is just,
Yes.
you must be able to see the place from
Shield,
space.
shielding helps a lot, but it's not the only thing that could be
And
done.
I would say Fairfield does have a spillage ordinance.
Okay,
We do have
I
that.
do.
okay.
I don't know who takes use of that, but
How is that enforced?
I think it would be enforced through a complaint. But it's interesting, I know of a place that's near where I used to live and there's tons of light spillage and I could never comprehend why the neighbors tolerated it. But
I know that
it's just gets enforced when someone,
we have a similar ordinance at Hamden, and the issue is that you have people that are working 9 to 5, these inspectors, they're working hard. They go home at night and they're not going to be driving around as a lighting sheriff. So it's really relying on other people to make a complaint.
Most of the enforcement isn't an after the fact enforcement, it's before the fact during site plan review. You know, they have to submit the photometrics so that, you know, it meets the town standards, but after the fact, people pretty much do what they want.
I can tell you about, it must have been 10 years ago now, an attorney that I was in the same building with had a lawsuit. A young lady was walking in a apartment building complex. And either there wasn't light, not sufficient light, something along those lines, something bad happened to her. And the lawsuit against the landlord was pretty big, and it was a pretty big award for her. And one of the main reasons was he didn't have sufficient light. So if there's, you know, the opposite side of that, of why would there be light? It's possibly something where an insurance company or somebody might be saying, you gotta have it.
Yeah. A lot of it has to do with
well,
the,
I walk down those horrible long hallways.
Yeah.
And there's 2 phases of lighting. It's
Yeah.
motion censored. And when I walk in, I go, it's fine, this is fine. But as soon as you step out, it triples. And I'm like, I don't need all of this. And I actually don't.
Yeah.
And I think I think there can't be any other reason except let's cover ourselves.
You know, I know Pittsburgh was highlighted in the New York Times for putting everything on dimmers.
Yes.
Has any other municipality followed suit? I mean, I know that they had great success, and then I was like, I wonder if that's something that,
That's a great question. If you go on to Lights Out Connecticut website, there is a bird-friendly building assessment
okay,
that has looked at a lot of these places that have tried lighting changes or bird-friendly building and doing something about that. So that could answer, like
Okay.
Cupertino, California. I know Dallas has started doing something with their lights because their role on the flyway is incredible. So they have taken steps in the right direction. Some of the places in Canada, because there's a very strong organization called FLAP Canada that is addressing this.
What I thought was nice about the Pittsburgh study was it didn't eliminate lighting. It just, and especially during certain times of the year, dimmed the light so that it gave the birds a better, like, so it was, so I thought that was, and it cut cost to the city of Pittsburgh. So I mean, but I thought like something like, that's trying to kind of,
Lights out is really not about turning the lights out. It's about making the light appropriate for what you need it to do.
right. And I think that the more people understand, I think, and then I think when you do see like a really beautiful night sky, you're like, wow, I think that if we could just, have a very short, blackout, everyone could see the light and be like, oh, maybe this is,
Are we on a migration path here? in the
Oh,
next-
absolutely.
Yes.
So how wide is that path? Like,
We
how
are-
how does that work? I don't.
I could go back to that slide.
It's okay. You can, like, is it from Cleveland, Ohio to the East Coast, or is it closer to?
We are known to be on the Atlantic Flyway.
Okay.
And so a lot of the birds are coming up the coast. However, a lot of our thrushes are coming up from the northern coast of South America or islands in the Caribbean, and they're just flying straight over the Atlantic Ocean, and they come to Connecticut. And this is oftentimes where they land first.
So
before they
Connecticut is
go-
a.
Yeah, Connecticut's pretty important.
Okay.
New Haven, their East Rock Park is known as one of the best birding places in the state.
That's the nice part. Yeah.
However, that's reliant on the weather. If the weather is good, the birds are gonna fly right over. So it's good for the birds, it's bad for the birders. But yeah, there's a lot of records. Like, for example, Connecticut Ornithological Association, their mailing address is Umpqua right here in Fairfield. And then there's Birdcraft Museum and the Connecticut Audubon dates back to what? 1898?
So Craig, myself, and James Ryan are going to be speaking at the Birdcraft Museum on the 28th. Called Little Things and Big Results, little things you can do. I'll talk about some life hacks you can do to deal with your lighting, working with light, and being safer with it. It's amazing because I talk about lighting all the time, as you all know. Whenever everybody goes like, oh, geez, I never thought about it. People just don't think about it. And if you think about it just a little bit, a couple of minor things can make a huge difference. And
I like that, Ted. I think that's the other thing is that it's not, we're gonna make everything unsafe and nothing's gonna be lit, but that there are things that we can do so that because I think the other thing, the insect apocalypse
It's coming.
is, and I think that the ripple effect, as Doug Talmay would say, if the insects are gone, we're in big trouble, so.
Yeah, I'd like to conclude. I know you have the rest of your meeting. But if you look at the coast of South Carolina, obviously South Carolina is probably of a different political philosophy than Connecticut, to understate it. However, they do have these light ordinances because everybody there loves their turtles. So there is some very strict ordinances about the lighting along the coastline. But you can't go to the beach or walk along the walkways.
Yeah.
without
I
tripping.
think I find at least in Fairfield, I think we're lucky here, but I don't really know political parties on the board. We usually try to do with that. Yeah, and I think a few other folks in the state do that when it comes to environmental stuff.
They say it's because everybody loves the turtles when we need like a marquee.
Yeah, we need to, right, sure.
In Connecticut, so no, we use the Blackbirdian warbler, but few people know what it is.
And the whale, right? Yeah.
Yes.
All right, I'll let you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you very much.
Any questions, you can reach out to,
Oh, yeah, we have a
And,
resident lighting.
come back.
Great. Thank you so much.
The dimmest bulb at the table, that's.
All right. Again, thank you. Number 2, I think has been continued. That's for 610 Flintlock Road, fence encroachment and conservation easement, that they have to continue to the next meeting, and I think we're going to be accommodating them on that
It's
part.
being continued.
610
Number 2 under new business.
Oh, okay.
Now we're going to old business. Number 1 is 980 High Street Conservation Easement. There was a few emails that came in from
Tim?
from Phil
Oh, from Phil.
to Tim.
The
and-
clean version. Right.
Yeah, and but I don't know, we can talk about it, but I liked it.
Well, I mean, has the applicant reviewed it?
I don't think so. I think it was just done.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's half the battle then.
Yeah.
So. And then the other thing I saw on that, two things that caught my eye. One was, and I'm kind of stickler on this, we never asked for that conservation. That was offered in as part of parcel of what they were trying to get approved. We ended up denying it, and I don't know what the final stipulation said, but we never, conservation easements are supposed to be voluntary. They volunteered it. And this says that we required it, and I object to that being in the document. So I'd like to get that stricken. It also says in there that, the conservation provides for public access, which I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but
I don't think
I
so.
don't think there's
thought it
gonna be
did.
public access. That's in the template. I would.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I read it today.
Hmm?
I read this again today and it said that.
Yeah, that section was deleted where it
All
said
right, well, I just saw,
no public access, so they,
well, I think that what George and I printed out, and I forgot. I'm sorry, I don't have it with me.
It's okay.
But I thought it did say something about it provides for public access. On the first one, the first two pages, but anyways, I didn't know about, anyways. I also asked Tim, we spent a lot of time and energy on this. I don't know how this gets paid for our attorney's time on this. Do we, is that on our dime or is that on the applicant's dime?
They're our council, so it's really.
It's on our dime,
Yeah,
so-
and it's always been.
I know, but this has been, as you know, this has been.
Oh, I see.
I don't think the words public access are in it anymore. I did a search and it doesn't come up.
Well, this is the one, it says this conservation easement preserves land areas for outdoor recreation by and for the education of the general public in accordance with section 17 of 178 of the code.
I'd have to look at it. again, but I
I-
thought somewhere it said that it was especially to provide public access. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, but anyways, I thought that
We're not looking to provide that.
anyways, so, but I would like to see that once, as I said, I think they volunteered this and once they volunteered, we put in our approval, but we did not, I don't recall anybody saying that in order for this to approve, you need to provide a conservation easement. And I think it's important because, in the future, if somebody wants to object to this, they could say that this is extorted from it, and it wasn't.
Oh, no, well, we can make it clear. If it's not clear, we'll say it wasn't part of the,
Yeah.
what wasn't part of our approval, and really, if it's in the record, it would be there. So our approval is part of this. So if we go back up to what was our approval,
I don't know, again, we didn't approve it, so we denied it. I'm not, it was a stipulated settlement after that, so I'm not quite sure what it said after that. We weren't really involved in drafting that.
if it's in the stipulated settlement, the stipulated agreement, it's not so much a requirement. It's just parties. agreeing to it.
Right. But again, it says
Yeah.
on the thing, if you read the thing that was required, and it wasn't required. But I wanted to clarify that.
All right, we'll look at it. I'll, if that is one of the issues, I'll talk to Tim and Phil.
And I would like to get, figure out, are we just spitting in the wind here? Because if the applicant says, I object to this whole thing, then we're.
Well, we just got
oh,
it.
but didn't they work with
I think they did. I think they
our
did.
attorney on this? So my understanding was this is what they mutually agreed to. Is that true or not?
That was the impression I
It's,
had.
that's what I got to, yes.
Because it says after recording, please return to Brian Leclerc. So
Yeah,
this-
no, but I didn't know, I know it went through our attorney, but I don't know if they, we weren't involved with how this was all.
No.
Smith, so I don't know if they, and I asked him and he didn't get back to me today, so.
That's fine. So I mean, if this is, because we just got it either yesterday or the day before.
Yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
Yesterday.
maybe it's not enough time for everybody to feel comfortable to do anything with it, and we have some.
Well, it takes a long time to slog through all
I,
this.
yeah, I
So.
I printed it out today. That's the best part. Yeah, and I,
Yeah, and that's fine.
I did slog through.
Sheepish admitting that.
No, good for you. I'm looking for one clause which I found, so that may be.
Okay.
I know, I
I wonder
saw
what
that. I know what he's looking for.
I believe that Phil had it for a while to put what we wanted, I think most of what we wanted in there as much as he can. And I think it should be set, but I'll let it, for everybody here to review it. And then when we can speak to Tim, maybe I can send an email out, after I speak to him and say, hey, what information do you have? Is this the final? And, and you guys can chime in.
I remember I sent a note to Tim. I had 10 things I wanted restored and 9 of them were there. And the only thing that isn't there was a right to inspect, and there's a forbearance clause. I'm like, okay,
So, I
I
mean,
think that's good.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of like a compromise. I didn't
I
think
nine
you could
out
put
of
something
10
like
is
that.
a little bit more of a compromise, if you will.
Yeah.
But so
Well,
that's,
I mean, I thought it was much better,
Mm.
but I have a list of like 6 or 8 things that they deleted that I think should be in there that I think are pretty important. So to me, it's not finished
okay.
because these things should go back in. I don't know why they're being deleted, but it's a lot better than it was before. But to me, it still needs some work.
Okay.
Did you make that known to Tim when he asked? Like, there were several of us that sent in our list of.
Well, that was
I'm
the
interested. I
prior.
want to compare
No,
lists.
I'm not talking about the prior iteration. I'm talking about this one that we got yesterday. And I did go through the whole thing this afternoon and picked out
Okay.
these items. I mean, it's only 1 page this time, not 2 pages.
Progress.
So but I don't know. I don't know what we want to do with this. If
I'm good with Tim, I guess.
I
Yeah,
should
would
send
say
it to
send
Tim
it
and
to
just
Tim. Yeah,
say,
make a note to Tim, yeah.
I mean, I'm only speaking for myself.
That's okay.
but
Yeah, but you can give it to Tim and then, Tim can give it to Phil and see what his thoughts are on those. Maybe they had conversations about those items
Yeah.
specifically. And if he says, we spoke about it and I, as town council, in an effort to move it along, kind of thought those were, or, maybe said, well, I didn't speak about these things. I didn't know that these were an issue. We'll revisit them. It could, whichever way he speaks. So send those comments to Tim and then, I'll discuss it with Tim and get it to Phil.
Okay.
All right, it's a process. 987 Bank Street North Conservation. Not even sure.
I had a comments on that.
Yeah,
That's the one that we went and walked.
Yep.
The guy built a garden in there and I guess just Rebecca, lack of a better word, they're trying to horse trade one property for another. And I'm reflecting on that with all these problems we're having with conservation easements and our statement that we're gonna accept a conservation easement. It should have a real purpose and a real ecological niche that we're trying to preserve here. I personally don't want a horse trade. I don't want to see us get another conservation easement of an area across the street that we're gonna have more problems enforcing in the future. I'd rather work with the easement we have already, try to work with the language and make it is what it is right now. We know some of the issues that we're gonna face if we try to resist or try to go back to, 100% nature in that area, because we already have a model on that. So I prefer to work with, what's there and make it the best situation possible, strengthen the easement language, rather than horse trade with another easement.
so what would you do though with,
Yeah.
there's a bridge, there's plantings, are you gonna?
That's something we can discuss, what level you think is, some things can be removed, some things can stay. But we can discuss that, but I'd prefer to work with what's there We're not gonna, I don't think we should take the conservation easement off of that, just to take another piece of wetland across the street. I don't think that makes any
Are
sense.
they asking
So
to take
it's-
it off? I don't think they were asking to take
They were
it
trying
off.
to swap
I
it.
think they were saying
They're gonna carve out.
carve that out, but it still stays in that area. They were just.
I think their
carve out that-
original proposal was to swap.
That
Yeah,
was the
no,
way I
but-
understood it.
Yeah, but I didn't understand it that way. I understood it as
When I listened-
carve out that area, leave it there, and then give us.
Again, I think that's horse trading. I don't see that it
Okay, so.
there's any benefit to us
If we
whatsoever.
let some features stand, how are we reconciling that? To me, that's a violation, and how do
Well,
we,
it's,
doesn't that make problems down the road for the next?
no, because the easement that we would have to file would explicitly discuss and allow, say this is allowed and this is not allowed. We would not have these old one paragraph easements. We take the new English language, new easement language, and apply it to that property with all the things, caveats that
About
we.
creating a new easement in effect?
Yes.
All right, I got that.
I think I wasn't here, but I did listen to the tape and I think that, you know, when they talk about that carve out, I don't understand why we couldn't say that the remaining area, if we did do that. I also disagreed with the idea that this isn't precedent. I think that when they were saying, well, that we don't have to worry about precedent, Brian comes before us himself and says, well, in the past, you've done this. So it does make a difference what our decision is. Like, so to say that precedent doesn't matter, I think that he is, I found him to be incorrect in.
Yeah, and I think
I don't
definitely
know the
precedent
legal
matter.
term, if you want to call it precedent, but people
I can
do.
tell you that if I go before another body, I'm like, you've done this in the past, whether it's precedent or not, however you want
So-
to talk about it, you've done it in the past, so.
So I just would,
Established it, yeah.
right, so I just, I was a little, I didn't agree with that statement. But I do think that regardless of what happens, that this is the same homeowner, like this is not this is, there's something about this that just is really hard to. I don't know how I really feel, but I will say that this is the same homeowner, that this is not somebody that bought this property and didn't understand. So I'm not saying that we need to rip out this whole thing, but I'm just saying, I do think in this case, this wasn't a miscommunication with a new
it's
homeowner who
absolutely
didn't
intentional.
understand. So I do feel like,
We have about 30 of those ahead of us that we're dealing with, and we all know that if we escalate this up to the court, we lose control of it, and then we don't
No,
know.
and I'm
where
not-
we're
and
at.
I'm-
So I don't think that's the right avenue to go. I think we keep control of it. We negotiate what we feel we're comfortable with, but I am not personally, and you guys might disagree with me, interested in another piece of property that we're gonna have.
but I think that they were willing, from what I could understand, and maybe I misunderstood, that they were gonna do this carve out, right? So there's the inland wetland portion, which was small. So the upland review area that's in question is a smaller
Right.
area. But then the conservation easement is the huge problem.
Right.
But they were willing to carve out that 3/4 of an acre conservation easement where they've got the bridges and the water course and blah, blah, blah. And then give us the, whatever, that's the other thing is, the mystery parcel. Like,
Well,
we don't
again,
know what that parcel is.
Whatever we do there, we have, I think we work with what we have. We do as best we can. There's never gonna be a house there. It might not be ideal situation, but I think we can control the situation. But personally, I'm not interested in getting the carve out, or if
But
how do
even
we
if you could
resolve
get even if you could get the carve out, I think that could we tighten the language of saying, like, I don't
Yes,
remember
we
who
can
said
tighten
it.
it, yes.
There's somebody, I think it was Luke said that, that we could say this was a violation. like,
Right.
That it travels with the property, like, this was not okay, this was never
right,
okay.
right. It would
We're
be that- it
allowing
would
this
be-
to
right.
happen.
The homeowner a
It would be
scofflaw?
something along the lines of, it's acknowledged that it's a violation.
Yes.
However, remediating this would cause a bigger harm than anything,
right.
something along
And
those
to
lines.
me, whatever you want to
Again.
call it, this
Yeah.
horse trading it was almost like the mitigation, the punishment, the fine. Because there's no other way.
Well, I think that's,
Correct.
I
No
see,
punishment there.
but
And-
I
and
think that the
again,
property-
we're getting punished because we get another parcel of land that's kind of worthless, doesn't have, it's already restrained because we're only talking about giving us wetlands. They're not gonna give us the uplands. They already said they're not gonna do that. They're only giving us wetlands.
but the whole thing is, but we can still say, no, we don't want the upland. I mean, like, we want the, I mean, like, we can, we
We can
still.
say that, but they're not gonna give it to us.
Well, wait, look.
They already-
we
they already
can't-
backed
what
off
we
of
can't
that.
do, in my opinion, is like, the example I would use is we were talking, having an informal discussion. It was just ideas.
Yeah.
And at one point, the figure of the acreage was getting, and I said, the best example was me, I said, well, would you give me an acre? That's fine to put it out there as conversation. If I had said, I'll only give you my
Yeah.
thumbs up
Yeah,
if you
no.
give me a minimum, but we
No,
can't
can't
be
do that.
predetermining.
No.
But the idea of giving me a big conservation easement theoretically is on the table, and isn't that appealing to you in any way?
No, because I think we have way too many problems with these conservation easements. We
Okay.
don't have the mechanism to enforce them. There, people are obviously ignoring them. If we get a easement across the street, it just adds to our burden, doesn't do anything to them because it.
But it is a financial penalty. What did
They
you
actually
say?
is a
Like-
financial reward because it gets conservation easements get eliminated from the tax rolls. So it's a financial reward. So I don't see that there's any penalty at all. There's no, it's, especially if it's, you
Well, it
know,
would encumber is there any potential that this
But-
property across the street has reset, like it could be sold and?
it's a building
I
lot.
mean,
It's a building lot.
Okay,
It
well-
will be, it probably will be sold as part of the estate at some
And so
point.
the encumbrance doesn't reduce the
Not if
value of
it's
that?
100% wetlands. That's what, the attorney said that they were gonna give to us. I don't see that.
Well,
But no,
again,
but I think that they hadn't flat, right? That they hadn't decided what, that wasn't
They
really
already told
decided.
us that the area that Brian's marked in the front of the property that was upland, that's off the table. They said, that's
Okay.
wrong, we're not.
My thing is, I'm still, nobody said no to my fantasy of a big expansion. That's all I'm saying.
Even so, even to extent, acre of wetlands, again,
Well, maybe
I
it's not an
have
acre
real
anymore.
problems with these conservation easements. I don't think it's working well for us. I think we've made a policy in terms of that, we're gonna accept.
But would you have them remediated then?
We would, we're gonna negotiate something and whatever gets negotiated out would be, you know, the conservation easement remains over the entire area. There's no carve out. Whatever we decide to leave, they leave, but it's still protected by a conservation. You wouldn't be able to build a house in there or a garage or any other structure there in the future. It'll be customized language, customized for the use for that entire parcel. And maybe we get something more because of the,
So
you know,
there
we get
might
the
be a
bamboo
pathway and a
removed.
bridge, but there wouldn't be all the
There should be some penalty.
duplication. I don't know what word you want to use. You're talking about
Building in the
stripping it
easement.
out
I mean,
down to a few.
You know, I think.
I think we negotiate it.
Okay. I still feel, I'm just saying that.
Suggesting a partial remediation.
I think, you know, I already threw out there that, you know, the bamboo was unacceptable in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but see, I don't think that
It's a
bothers them.
state thing. I don't
I
know.
mean,
I
they've
don't know
got
what
this
bothers-
whole, it's like a theme park. So, and it's all in violation. So
It's a viol, you
what are
know.
we gonna say? Are we gonna say?
Did they stock
you
the
have to
water
rip
with
out-
clay?
There was,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I saw
Raise the
it.
fish on top of everything else?
You know, again, it's a negotiation at this point, what can be remain and what can't remain, but whatever we decide to remain would be very clear within the context of the revised conservation easement.
Well, if that's
I
the
would-
So,
plan, if
but-
that's the way we're gonna go down, then we should at least have, or each commissioner, if that's the way you wanna go, maybe put 3 or 4 points together of what you think are your, you know, top three things that need to go. Because obviously the bridge is gonna stay, I'm assuming, right? I don't think anybody.
Well, I-
what
Well,
is,
I
what
don't
is, has Tim weighed in? I haven't seen anything.
I'd like to hear from staff. for-
Yeah, I'd like to hear from staff. I mean, I think the other thing
See what
is,
they think.
and the other thing, when I was out there, that delineation where the wetlands is over that brick, the stone wall, where they're pumping the water up from that wetland, then it's going over to that other side. Like, the hydrology of that whole area does not sit right with me.
Official.
Right, so, you know, do we say something about, like, if we're gonna
You
do,
say anything you want, you know, but I think we focus on that rather than trying to horse trade across the street. We focus on what we have and we make the best of, you know, which is a difficult situation.
I don't want to be on Wakeman Lane again. You're making me feel like I'm making a return.
you know,
I think we are, I think we're trying to avoid that. I think we learned from that and that's why we don't want to escalate this. We want to keep control.
Well, yeah, but you were more logical than I was about that.
I think that there is a way forward, but I just say like personally, it doesn't, this is a difficult one in that it's the same homeowner. I think if this had been an accidental purchase and they went ahead, and I don't think I would feel like as
I don't think,
distressed.
Are you putting
by-
any,
I'm not,
I don't
No,
think
no, no,
any of these are accidental, by the way. You know, everybody that buys a piece of property gets, you know,
Yes,
gets.
I, absolutely, that
So,
should
you know, I don't
definitely be
think
said
any
out
of these
loud.
are accidental.
Hire a
I
national
just think that, I think a lot of this is what happened is
landscape
this
architect.
became part of the condition of the approval, and the people said, okay, I'll accept it, but then I'm gonna do whatever I want anyways, after.
well, I'm not sure if that's what they said. I think
Well-
something about his.
Not particularly in this case, I think in some of the
There was
but
other
then
ones.
the attorney said,
Family.
Did he hire like a
Attorneys-
nationally known landscape architect
Yeah.
to design the whole thing for him?
Yes.
right, but then the attorney said, well, this isn't a case of, doing something in what you want and asking permission later. I'm like, this is exactly what you're doing.
Asking forgiveness, right, not asking for permission, but.
Right, like that's what it was. I was like, wait a minute. I'm like, that is exactly.
Anyways, I just, not to belabor the point, my point is I think we should focus on whatever we want to do in that area. It's gonna be a negotiation, probably won't be pleasant, but,
I'd like,
neither side wins, then that's
When
the
would be-
negotiation.
when For me would be when we could cross the threshold of including the contractors as part of what's going on, because that is part of the law, that everybody who participates in a violation is responsible.
Well, this is,
And
this
we
is,
never, I can have one or two in my head in the last couple of years alone, where we did the unfortunate woman who, in my opinion, was victimized by her contractor, and we did try to help her. Well, that was just a terrible thing that I don't know, the contractor wasn't really held responsible. And I don't
think
look at
this
this
is,
example, there must have been a lot
But-
of people involved.
When you go to the meetings, Janet Brooks says all the time, like, these are trained professionals. If they're they know the law, like they should be looking and, and that we should,
but anyway, I mean,
It's not gonna happen until
advising the
somebody
homeowner
gets.
saying, hey, this isn't legal. Not consistent with your easement. If they were hired to design something.
no, I'm sure they had good surveys with this, and then they decided to proceed.
So I-
But this isn't so much of a wetlands violation, it is a conservation easement violation, which is a different ordinance, so we can't go,
Jay, I hear you and I'm inclined to agree with you. I'd like to hear what staff has to say.
Yeah.
I think,
I'd like to have staff.
Let's leave
because
it.
it's not a
Quantify.
wetland, because like the wetlands,
Right.
this is a conservation easement I mean, like this is the bulk of this is the easement.
So what's the concept? I'd like to have staff
That's what I'd like to know.
help us quantify what the potential remedy would be.
Okay.
How big an issue is it? And then move forward from there.
I think that's,
I think, yeah,
prudent.
I
All right,
agree,
very
Ted.
good. Thanks, Ted. And now old business number 3 is 845
Another easement.
Millwood Hill Terrace Conservation Easement. They come in threes.
Yeah, really. Like 666.
No, anything there.
yeah, again, I think what they wanted to do there was give us a conservation easement with no teeth in it. And
Yeah,
that's not.
but do we have
I think
a
we-
new draft of this?
Not that I'm aware
This
of.
one, no.
Because there was one from January that was totally unacceptable, but, so we don't have a new version.
I didn't
I
see
didn't
one.
see
I
anything.
think they're getting the point now that, that they can't just offer these things to us and we're not gonna
Take a look at it.
take a look at.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I think we'll see less of this because people know that we're onto it.
All right. Well, again, I'll talk to staff about really all 3 of those. Perfect. Okay. Open space land acquisition, number 1, update, 240 Red Oak foreclosures in progress on 6 acres owned by the Connecticut Audubon.
Wow.
So yeah, Tim told me about this. It's property is actually 12 acres, but it's like half of it is the one that he's looking at. Just kind of keeping up with it, giving us an update on that. But hopefully he would really like to get that property.
That would be amazing. That's a
Yeah.
budding property.
Nice piece of, yeah.
So would that the Audubon then manage that, or would we lead that, or?
No, it would be the town, it would be town
Town
property.
property.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it'd be town property.
Why is it a
I was like, what?
foreclosure with Audubon?
Connecticut Audubon Society?
No. They're, I think he was, even though it's one parcel of 12, half of it is owned by Connecticut Audubon, that maybe that's not being foreclosed.
The other
And
side.
the other side. is-
So to add that to the reserve. would be
Okay.
great. Okay.
Um,
Got it.
Yep. 80 Congress Street. So that one, number 2 on open space land acquisition, 80 Congress Street. We got the appraisal report back. And, I think maybe the church thought it would have been more, but at least we have a baseline. I think it came in at 100,000. So that's, so now Tim's going to go back and talk and do what he needs to do about that. It'd be nice, but it's gonna be within reason. And the number 3, the current acquisition frequency rate is 2.59 months parcel. So that's still pretty good. Yeah, doing great. Absolutely great. Roman numeral 8, bills and communications, there's nothing there. Roman numeral 9, legal and enforcement actions, they're all updates. The number 1 is 42 Anvil Road. The survey previously provided by Attorney Chris Russo for review and discussion as it relates to the conservation easement and unauthorized regulated activities completed within the regulated area of inland wetlands. And the wetlands permit is in progress. So I guess they're moving on with that. That's a good thing. Number 2, update of 361 Cross Highway. The legal action is still in progress related to conservation easement and unauthorized regulated activities within the regulated area of inland wetlands. Not much there. So it's still in, it's an update that nothing much. Number 3, update 30 Laurelbrook Lane. Site restoration plan provided by Matt Pop for review and discussion as it relates to the conservation easement and unauthorized regulated activities completed within the regulated area of inland wetlands and water courses. A second citation was issued on May 7th, 2026 for additional unauthorized work within the same regulated area of wetlands and the conservation easement. Tim was very upset about this. 'Cause it's-
Wow,
it's
I
been-
can't believe it.
So he got a call from
Continued to
a
do it.
neighbor or
Yes.
somebody, and he went up there and there was earthwork, there was movement, there was so much stuff going on. And he's like, what is going on here? Made everybody stop and kind of told him to leave. And he did another citation. And I guess he said the homeowner may have said something, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know. He's just had it, kind of up here. So he did that second citation, but he's on it. So, just, well, we'll see. See what comes of it, because now they're just piling on. It's gonna be, getting that daily fine is a pretty good thing for most. I don't know why they don't understand, but Tim's aware of it and he's on it, so. Okay. Roman numeral 10, staff reports. 1, the natural resources inventory is now been formally issued. And that was great. It was absolutely great.
Was great.
Yeah, absolutely. Photos? Yeah, of course.
But plenty of people.
Yeah, no, but yeah,
But the amount of, it's just a crazy good document, the amount of work.
It's really nice.
impressive.
I just think it's so nice. Then I'm like, oh, it would have been so nice if we had one from before to compare, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, but now, don't look back, we're
Yeah,
looking forward.
Forward. Number 2, miscellaneous reports. A, considerations being made to alter a trustee of the H. Smith Richardson Conservation Fund Trust. Not sure about that.
Well, I talked to Tim about that and he said, because we will need some, there's sometimes when we need cash to do certain projects.
Oh.
And he said to me that the bank that holds
Yes.
this thing is like, Last time they wanted to get money, it took almost 2 years to get them to
Yeah.
write a check.
He did mention that.
So I said, I said, that's unacceptable. We need to
Yeah,
resolve that. We should be, if we need our money, we should be able to get our money.
he did mention that to me. It's not an immediate thing. He's getting it on our radars. So that if they can do the change, they will try to do it. 'Cause I think there might be, multiple parties involved. to
You
talk
know,
about it.
I
So,
don't know too much about it, but it
Yeah.
just seems to me
That's
that
what it
it's
was.
ludicrous that they, if they can control our money and not give it to them.
and B is Mill Hollow open space
Sorry.
vandalism incident.
What happened?
What's going on, Tom?
Well, we took down the orange fence when we put up the green fence. And we did that, I believe on a Thursday, Saturday. Samantha and Sarah from Inlands Wetlands were down at Mill Hollow doing something with Mill River. And they sent pictures to me. Some kids ripped up all the posts and knocked down the fence, and
Oh, no.
they took the sign out saying it's a meadow restoration. They threw it in the water.
Yeah.
God.
So Samantha called the Fairfield Police Department. Fairfield Police Department came out. They wrote an incident report. We have it on file. One of the neighbors felt bad. So Sunday, he went out there and put the fence up.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
I mean, to the best of his ability. I
Yeah.
guess, so.
How did we vote on the green fence? I don't recall doing that.
No, but I kind of pushed it
Oh,
behind the scenes.
okay.
Remember the woman came from across the
Yeah,
way?
yeah,
She
remember.
didn't like the
Yeah.
fence.
That was you, huh?
Okay, are you-
24 people showed up.
Okay.
at this meeting.
Why did you just out yourself like that?
Never had a problem.
There's a TikTok.
Look, sometimes you have to go along to get along. We knew it was gonna end up being going to the first selectman's office. And, I think it was the right thing to do.
Just replace it with
I
that.
pushed it and it happened. I think it worked out well. Everybody's happy. I'm sorry somebody took it down. I also donated 250 plants to the cause.
Everybody's happy. That's the third time I put that fence up.
Anyways, I pushed it, so
Okay.
I'm outing
Well,
myself.
is that?
I think it's something to think
They were
about
working
for
on it.
other properties,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because if you can use something that blends in
Next,
versus something that's in your face, why wouldn't you do
Yeah,
that?
I took the position that the in-your-face orange is stay out. That's the issue.
Yeah, but the fences stay out too. So I'm not sure you have to
But that's
quite
okay. I mean,
go that
I-
far.
I can appreciate let's move on because it's an important issue, but it shouldn't be our top issue.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I understand that concept of that. So hopefully this now it's planted, hopefully they take and it's not a,
that's next.
I tell you what it does show is I think what's really good is that there's a diverse opinion. And I think that's really good,
it's always good.
right here. I mean, it's really good.
And ultimately, we're here, we
Popular,
serve,
right
but we're
there.
here to serve the
House with
public.
the- with the-
And,
Basketball
people were
team.
nice, they came to us and if we can accommodate people.
What it is.
I really think strongly that we'll do our
Like
best.
you said, it was ultimately it's a fence. So it
Yeah.
wasn't,
It was a simple thing to address.
and I can appreciate that, although I
Are you
can also
willing to
see
pledge publicly that no matter how much we disagree, you're not gonna let the air out of my tires or something like that?
that.
How'd you know I did
We're still
that?
getting, we're still
He's
basically
nodding
getting
himself
along.
under the
That
thing.
was not me. I did not do
At
that.
the end of the day, it just.
I just made nice about how.
I just want to be a nice person. I want to be nice because there's so much bad in the world. I just want to.
Oh, goodness.
That's why I don't fit in.
All right, we're moving on to Mill Hollow Open Space Meadow Restoration Plantings on May 20th, 2026.
Yes,
Was that a nice cool day for you?
it was beautiful.
Uh-huh.
My crew, along with Heather and I want to get his name, Mario, I believe his name was. They planted over 900 plants today, including trees, river birch, dogwoods, witch hazel, all kinds of plugs, over 800 plugs. It was a long day.
You send them over to my house?
Yeah.
I got 8 things I need to plan.
I will say
I
the
don't-
kids love it when the water wagon comes. When you
Yeah.
have a trip out there with second grade and then the water wagon comes,
Well-
it's like the ice cream man. They're
Yeah.
like, here comes the water wagon.
Well, the only problem is Heather wants it watered like, and I see her point. She wants it watered like every day.
No, it's,
And I said to her, I says, Heather, I says, in a perfect world, that's great. But I says, I have one guy out injured. He's gonna be out for a year,
Well,
Oh, no.
You think so?
Jake, at least. I have, JP just came back from, he had the flu. He was out. John's gonna be going on 3 weeks vacation.
Yeah.
So that leaves me with one guy again. And seasonals.
Yeah.
And seasonals really can't, because of current circumstances that happened. We gotta be careful with having seasonals use different equipment and stuff. So,
so anyways, from the perspective of environmental restoration, you're actually not supposed to water these things because they're supposed to be resilient and be able to take a more, less water and survive it. But watering, you're actually encouraging the plants around them to outcompete them. So that's the ecological perspective.
Right.
well, there's rain coming, so that will help.
well, we dumped 600 gallons of water on them today.
I would have thought that you would have been out there watering like crazy to get them established. That's very interesting.
You know, it's a lot of this is counterintuitive,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, all right, well, thank you.
My crew did,
Thank them too.
I will.
All right. D is Tide Mill Dam project update. Well, I think that's not going anywhere.
Yes.
So, there were all these indications, people telling people to go to deep to try to get a grant and do all of these things. They did all of these things, submitted the
Right.
grant application, and it got denied. It's like,
I don't, yeah.
so,
Well, there are 800 other people going to deep.
I guess, but it's like,
You know, as things move on, I think it's gonna be a lot more challenging to get money, you know, all the ARP money's gone. And I think it's gonna be a lot more challenging to raise funds to do
to do stuff.
projects, yeah.
All right, well, this is the first one that we know that not everything gets granted, I guess. So, well, we'll have to keep trying though, in the future. So E is NFWF Long Island Sound Futures Fund Grant Application for Water Quality Monitoring in Southport Harbor and Mill River. Collaboration with Save the Sound, Harbor Watch and Mill River Wetlands Committee. So that one would be nice, because they're gonna be trying to get samples to see exactly what the issue is, not just somebody saying, oh, it's E. coli. Okay, what, or how, from where, or how, with what? So that's much more in depth in the monitoring that they're gonna be able to do. So, okay. Okay, any other?
I have a question, upcoming site walk,
Yes.
and it said 121 Winton. But there's no such
It's a
address.
vacant lot there on the, right.
Well, I think I was looking it up, what's on Winton, and there is a vacant lot, I think it's 210. There's no 121.
There's no,
So-
121 was, they got a recent,
A subdivision.
no, a address from the town. That was it. It's on the corner of, kind of on the corner, one lot in from the corner of Whitman and what's it, Brown Hill Road. It's the only vacant lot.
Is it that very steep lot?
No, it's
No.
a big open field.
Okay.
Well, I can ask Tim to kind of identify where it might be.
Yeah.
On maybe an X on a map or something, a little thing, so.
And I'm not gonna be
Oh.
participating in that.
It's the
Okay.
one that abuts the house that's on, that faces onto Round Hill Road? That's gonna be the separate lot?
No, it's a, you know, it's an open meadow right now, a couple of cedar trees in it. It's the only open meadow there. Not the steep hill is not not it. That's off a barn, next to barn,
Oh, okay.
the old barn. This is on the south side of, Winton Road.
Okay.
South, east part of Winton Road.
Okay.
What's the address? What did you say, 121?
There's no mailbox or anything, so the,
Diane, what did you say that the number?
It was listed as 121. But
Street.
that's not a
Winton.
legal address on that street.
Okay, well, figure it out. Make sure we go to the right place. Any other? June 16th, I will be at the main library with Mary Hogue and Stefan Martin from Audubon. We're going to be celebrating Pollinator Week, which is the following week. So I'm going to be talking about gardening for life. We're going to be talking a little bit about lighting, not a lot. But we're also going to try and initiate an iNaturalist BioBlitz for Fairfield for the following
Oh,
week
that would be awesome.
to see how many things we can identify in the course of that week and get as many people using iNaturalist as possible. So that could actually be a lot of fun.
I pushed it with my second graders,
Yeah,
with all the parents that were out,
it's a great
It's
tool.
great.
It's a great tool.
June 16th.
Very nice. Thank you.
So just FYI.
All right, folks. With that.
Thanks. Thank you.
I know, what did they just identify? A new slug in San Francisco? Some kids sent in?